Good day, everyone. Today, I'm incredibly excited to present SimplyYoung Store, a fully responsive modern e-commerce application built leveraging the power of React, Vite, and Bootstrap, and my favorite, CSS. So the first thing is when designing the e-commerce platform, the overall user experience on here hinges on two different fundamental pillars: speed and data integrity. So if a website flickers or crashes while the user is trying to retrieve the data, the user is just going to leave. They're not even going to come back to this website. So it doesn't instantly sync across the entire screen. The user loses trust. So to solve this, it utilizes an advanced asynchronous infrastructure combining with centralized data pipelines. So let's talk about how the app loads. So when a user navigates to the actual product data, it pulls information from the server itself, the fake API store. And to prevent the app from trying to read properties from an empty object array and protects it from crashing, it'll actually initialize our loading state to true by default. That's why you saw that fetching loading product there for a second. That's what happens is if I were to just run it, it would crash. And so that's why we run the loading until it finally loads, that loading screen. The UI will dynamically paint product data cleanly onto the screen while it's loading, so it makes it pretty easy to get back if something were to fail. So this is the second way, like you're going to a store, how it's explained. So imagine your website is a massive brand new shopping center. So when a shopper walks through the front doors, they expect to see full shelves, bright lights, and items they can buy immediately. But behind the scenes, there is a ton of work happening to make this stuff actually happen. So before the store opens, the managers don't want shoppers walking into an empty room with no shelves. It would look broken and people would just leave. So in the code we have set up, you set a rule that it loads is equal to true. This is like putting up a beautiful banner over the store entrance that says opening soon, directly in front of the store to the customer. So in your app, this is that spinning logo. Whenever we go back here, you see that spinning logo, click details, it says loading product. I'll go to another one. There's that loading product. We're putting up that banner in front. So while the syntax loads on the back end, says, it's basically saying, hang tight, we're setting up the store for you right now. So now what does Axios do? So in our code that we have, Axios is this right here, is that use effect. This is where we're pulling all of our data from. This is where we get it all from, is this fake store API.com products and then ID. That's where we pull the ID of all these items from. That's where we get these. It'll pull an image, it'll pull the title, it'll pull the price, it'll pull the reviews, it'll pull the, what was the last one? So it'll also pull the description from that as well. So while the shopper is looking at that opening soon sign, there's a giant delivery truck called Axios that's rushing down the highway from the API store, the fake API server, to us. And then it's picking up all the cargo, the shirts, the jackets, the jewelry, the electronics, all that stuff. So the truck brings all this stuff back to us. So the final part, the truck unloads the boxes, the shelves are stocked instantly, and the code triggers to finally, after it pulls everything, which is this right here, it's going to run this code right here. And it's going to set loading to false. So that basically pulls down the banner and says, hey, we have all of our stuff here. This pulls down the banner, shows our product. That's what that does. By combining robust asynchronous architecture through Axios, clean conditional rendering to handle loading states, a unified global context engine via useCart hook, and explicit confirmation workflows, SimplyYoung Store delivers a seamless, production-ready, and high-performant e-commerce experience. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to open the floor for any questions you might have about the underlying architecture.